Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So today, in this video, we're going to work on email marketing. And above all, we all know that nowadays, artificial intelligence helps us tremendously in creating quality emails, especially if we're going to make newsletters or run email campaigns. But instead of actually using several tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity to create your campaign, it would be much more interesting to have a platform that helps us do this and above all, handles sending the emails for us. So the platform I'm going to present today is one offered by Hostinger, which actually gives us free access. That's what's really interesting. It allows us to do what we call emailing, especially sending emails to an entire database, and most importantly, making sure the email actually arrives in the recipient's inbox and not in the spam folder. So as you know, when we want to do emailing, we don't use our Gmail inbox. We need an emailing software. And today, there are a lot of software options on the market. There's Aweber, there's MailChimp, and many other tools that are very well known today. But the only drawback, let's say, is the price. The price is really too high when you want to run an emailing campaign. Here, let me show you, just right here. I use Aweber a lot myself. So I've been using Aweber for several years. And for example, here I have a database that's not very large. In my database, I have about 9,500 contacts, 9,000 people subscribed who follow me, who follow my newsletter. And for this campaign, to maintain the database, I have to pay about $135 per month. $135 is the price I have to pay to maintain my database, which contains about 9,500 email addresses. And you see, thanks to this, it's true that I can send out, emailings, so I send them messages. Well, generally, I send between 3 and 4 email campaigns per month, almost one each week, either to send news or to offer promotions, but not more than that. So as a result, I don't go over 40,000, but still, it's a bit expensive. So since then, this amount here, look here, if I look at the subscribers, so here with the cleaning I did recently, for those who don't open the email address, I set up an instruction to delete the email address if they don't open it after 3 campaigns. So now I'm at 7,518. And as you can see here, this is a bit of my campaign. And the email I sent, as you can see this month, I haven't sent more than 8,686. So really, I don't use that much. But to pay that amount, it's too expensive. And even if I go back here to Aweber's official website, look here. So here, for example, if I take a campaign with a database between 0 and 500 subscribers, I'll have to pay around $20 per month. The more my database grows, actually, so normally I should be here in this subscriber range. So that's basically the pricing. So I have to pay this amount, especially if I'm going for a monthly payment. As you can see here, I'm at $135. So what's the idea? The idea today is that I'm going to show you how we can use this tool. First, it gives us free access where I can add up to 100 email addresses, contact addresses per month for free. And if I want to go higher, for example, between 0 and 100 and 500 new contacts per month, look at the price. Honestly, it's a pretty significant price. If I position myself here between 5,000 and 10,000, look at the price really, it's a whole different story. If I look at this, the $22, and compare it with the bill I'm currently paying for the same 10,000 subscribers, it's at $135. It's really 10 times more expensive, or even a bit more. So the idea here in the training I'm going to give you today is that I'll show you how to use this tool, how to create a free account, how to set up an email campaign, and you'll see everything is done with AI. That means creating the database, maintaining it, sending campaigns, and conversion. Everything is done with this tool. It's a very powerful tool. I'll leave the link in the comments in the description of this video. You can go there, and we're simply going to do a complete demonstration on Hostinger Reach. Here, you can do email marketing in a very simple way, and above all, at a low cost. So now we're going to create a professional account with Hostinger Reach. For me, why would I want to use a professional account? For the simple reason that, as you'll see here, I'm just going to choose the smallest plan. This one allows me to go up to 500 contacts per month, So each month I can have an increase of 500 contacts. And what's really interesting here is that you'll see it doesn't put the reach logo in the emails. Okay, we can work with free accounts. With free accounts, when we do tests and send emails, they'll simply indicate that we're using this or that software. And for me, for example, when I'm working professionally, when I send campaigns to companies, I shouldn't show that you can't sell products or training with paid offers that way. And here we are using a free tool. So that's something you really need to avoid if you're a business, or even if you're a content creator or a freelancer working for yourself. It's better to use accounts that are inexpensive and, above all, professional. So this one allows me to send up to 3,500 emails per month. That means if I have 500 subscribers, I can send up to 7 campaigns per month. So that's great for me. And it also lets me use AI, which will automatically create the message for me thanks to artificial intelligence. So it's simple. Here I'm going to click on select and we'll go for a 12-month subscription. And here they give me a gift. There are actually 20 free messages, which means I can create and personalize my template with 20 messages. Of course, I can choose the 12 months. It's much more worthwhile than just 1 month. If you only take 1 month, it comes to 5.99 euros. So 12 months is much more interesting. Now for the promotional code, we're going to enter Docteur. If I confirm here, if I actually apply it, there you go. It will give me yet another discount, which is also very attractive. So now we're at 21 euros. That's great. It's really interesting. So all that's left to do is to click on continue to actually confirm our account. And there you go. The payment has been made. And now I move on to my dashboard. And just like that, in a few seconds, I actually have access to my system. So here on the home page, I can of course add information about the sender, which is what we're going to look at. Because every time you run an email campaign, it's very important to identify your company so that when people receive your email, they'll know exactly who it's from. And of course, that's mandatory so that your email doesn't end up in the spam folder. Of course, we can also customize the brand, because by personalizing the brand, when the artificial intelligence creates the campaign for us, it will follow our color codes, and that's very, very important. And above all, I can also create my own template here to reuse it every time. So as you can see here, I can send up to 3,500 emails. So 3,500 people can actually receive our message. And also in terms of subscribers, don't forget that here I can go up to 500 new subscribers each month. And that's also very, very interesting. So I can see how many campaigns have been sent, and most importantly, the average response time or engagement rate. So that's important to know whether people are actually responding to my campaign or not. So now my dashboard is ready. We'll just do a few small configurations so we can start creating our campaign. Very important. We're going to start by setting up the sender information. So here for the sender, I can simply add the domain name here. So when I send an email, the system actually needs to be sure that I am the owner of the email address, right? Otherwise, how would it work if it sends out emails and, for example, I could pretend to be Microsoft and send emails to people making it look like they're coming from Microsoft. And since I'm not Microsoft, I can't verify my domain name. So what's the idea here? It's that we can connect our domain name so that the system or the software trusts it. And when it sends out emails for us, it knows that we are the owners of the domain name. So you have options. Either you have an existing domain name, which is much better because the older the domain name, the more interesting the open rate or deliverability rate will be. So it's not like when I buy a domain name right away. If I have an old domain name, it actually affects the sending rate. And if I don't have one, well, you need to start by creating a domain name. So there's the option here to click there, and I can simply buy a domain name here, which really doesn't cost much at all. So here there are domain names that are even as low as 2 euros. You just need to enter the domain name you're looking for here. For example, I'll just put one in here just to test. The system will then suggest several domain names, so I can find domain names here at these prices. Once I select the domain name I'm interested in, I just need to confirm, and that's it. I move forward. Otherwise, there's also the option to buy hosting if you want, because with hosting, I can get domain names for free. That's also a very useful tip. If you ever need to host a website, take advantage and buy hosting, because with hosting, you'll get free domain names. So you just need to go here to the website section and you'll see there's a button to buy a new hosting plan. Here are the options. In fact, there are many of them. So this one, I think there are some here, the ones that offer a free domain name. It's this one. So if you ever want a free domain name with your hosting, it would be very interesting to choose this package. It gives you access. Here it is. It's actually the premium one, access to hosting, and you get a free domain. And that's really, really interesting. With this hosting, you can create up to 25 websites. So for us, what we're interested in, let's come back here. And for example, I already have a domain name, so I can simply click on the domain name to connect it. So to test our application again, we're going to try to get a domain name here on Hostinger. So here I'm simply going to choose and register a domain name. For example, I'm going to search for a domain name. I'm going to call it coresandmidden.fr. So this is just for testing. And I click to check availability. It tells me the domain name is available, and I just have to click here to get it. So now it's simply reserving this domain name for me. It only takes a few seconds. Then it asks if I want to create a website or an application, but for now we don't need that. So we'll just exit and confirm using the email address we provided on our Hostinger account to verify that we are the rightful owner. Once we've checked the email, the domain name is now properly created. So now I can go back to the back office, and there you go, domain name is active. All that's left to do now is to connect this domain name with my emailing application. Now, the domain name has just been purchased. Of course, it is in the process of being connected. So sometimes the process, here it says it can take up to 24 hours, but generally after about 20 minutes, the domain name will be active. So this is completely normal because when you've just bought a domain name, you have to wait for what's called the DNS propagation of that domain name. So you just actually need to wait a little bit so that here I can click on the connect button, and there you go. So 10 minutes later, the domain name is ready to be connected. I'm simply going to click here on connect, and there you go. It's just established a connection with my domain name. So the domain name is now connected to my application, and as a result, I can now send the information. Now you'll see that here, if I'm going to send emails, generally I don't want people to reply to those email addresses. So in this case, I'll set it to no reply so that when I do an email campaign, people won't reply to that email address. And here I can specify, for example, I can enter the name you want for the email address. This is what we call a display name for the email address. When people receive my email, they'll see the name displayed like this. So once I've made these changes, you also have the option here to add another email address and create it. Of course, like contact, news, or whatever you want, depending on your business. And I click on Save Changes. So now the changes have just been saved. What you need to do now is add information about your company and set up your brand's appearance. Now, when it comes to company information, it's very important to enter your company's data. If you don't have a company, you can enter your first and last name here as the company name or your brand name, because when you send an email, people will see this information. So it's better if you have a company because that will help prevent your emails from being sent to spam, and people won't report them as spam, thinking they're not coming from a recognized company or person. Here, you can enter your address, because these are two very important pieces of information, especially the company address. If you enter the company name, then you should also provide the company address. Generally, these are the two pieces of information you often find at the bottom of the page when you receive an email. Here, the URL for the privacy policy. So, you know that every website should have a privacy policy link. This covers all the terms of purchase. And here you simply enter the URL of your website. Once you finish the company information section, you'll see that here you can simply add your logo. And actually adding a logo is very useful. It will help the AI later on when it creates the preview for you. It will really assist you in doing that. And then if you have color codes, it's actually very useful to take the color codes from your website and enter them here. You'll see that the artificial intelligence will then be able to help you get a city, or rather a template design that's very, very close to your actual website. For example, if I'm on my website, I have a little extension I installed called Color Pick. This extension allows me to easily detect all the color codes used on my website. So generally I use it here so I can add the color information, or you can simply paste the code here. And there you go. The system will simply help you fill in all this information. And thanks to this extension, it really makes it easy to retrieve the color codes used in my application. So here you can just have fun copying all the code so you can use them here, and the system will pick up all the information. That's it. After that, you're free to provide all the information you want, especially the logo, which is very important. So the logo shouldn't be too large, with a maximum size of 2 megabytes. For example, just to show you, I'll upload a logo like this and save the information. Of course, this information relates to my plan, so here I can go up to 500 registrations per month, which is really, really interesting. So as you can see here, it's per month, which means that each month I can actually have up to 500 registrations. So once the information is entered, I can simply go here to create my campaign and ask the AI to suggest a design and content for me. Now, in the contact list here, there are actually two options. There is the option to sync with the creator. This is basically the system you can use to create websites with Hostinger's hosting. So you have the option to sync this directly from your website. Or you can simply import contacts here or even add contacts manually. This is just, in fact, for testing purposes. So here, for example, I can just enter, let's say, a test email address just for testing. It's really just for testing purposes. So here, this is going to be, well, this test email address. I can click here to add it. So here we're simply going to add it manually. So that's an email address that has just been added. There's also the option to directly import a CSV file. So a CSV is a file, and here I can download the template to see what it looks like. It's a file where I can put an entire database. So all the email addresses. Of course, you have to follow the column structure. So you need to have first name, last name, and then subscription date if you want. So that's actually optional. So here's what it looks like. We can make it a bit bigger. There, let's just enlarge it a little. So I actually need to provide two types of send a CSV file with the email, first name, last name, and registration date. But what's really important is the name, the email address. After that, the first name and last name aren't mandatory. So if I send a file like this, that maybe contains 500 email addresses, which is the limit. Of course, on my subscription, the system will simply import them. So here I have an email address to test with. Just imagine that this is my database, of course. All that's left to do is to actually launch the campaign and create a system using AI to handle email operations in a very simple way. And there you go. So now we're going to click on create a campaign. You see that here I actually need to give this campaign a name. So that's going to be fine. The name actually won't be displayed. It's just an internal name for me. It'll be a summer promotion. There you go. Or we call it Promise July promotion. And there you go. So here, this will be the name of my campaign. Now the subject, and this is very interesting, right? So the subject actually is where we're going to give information to the AI. So it's very important to choose my subject carefully. And so here I'm going to enter my subject. So here for the subject, I'm mentioning that there's a pack of 30 courses on artificial intelligence and no code currently on promotion. So here I'll leave the sender's name as default and the email address as well. I'll leave it as default. So now I click on continue. Now comes the part where I'm actually going to create the template. So that's actually the strength of this system. It actually gives me three options. Is it a welcome newsletter? Is it educational content, or is it a promotion or sale? So for me, it's promotion and sale. You'll see when I click here, it already gives me what's called a prompt. After that, it's generated the ideal prompt 10. I just need to replace this information with the correct details. That's all. So here I start replacing the information. So I'll put in the basic details that interest me. So here you just need to copy and paste the text related to your campaign, and you'll see that it will take care of everything and organize it all. So here, add a sense of urgency with a deadline. So the deadline, it's very important for me actually, because it's an offer that ends in 24 hours. So this is really, really important. So there you go. So I would just put offer valid for 24 hours here, quite simply. And there you go. And if there are any calls to action, so that's also very important. For me, for the call to action, I would actually put the link to my pack. For example, here, I would just put that and I would add the link. So it's really, really important to clearly define the links if you have any links. For example, that's my case. And I can even add a coupon if I want. And there you go. And so I can also put it like this. I can put the coupon here. There you go, the coupon equals. So it'll all make sense to him, you know. So here I enter the information related to the offer, and all that's left to do is click send. Now what's going to happen is that this is where the Magic Happen hosting will actually understand the post. However, it's going to analyze it, and then it's actually creating my design for me. So in just a few moments, I'll have the complete design for my offer. And there you go, it just created the design for me. Of course, it used the logo I sent it. Well, I can send the logo in PNG format. This is actually a JPEG logo, so it has a white background, okay? We could do better with the logo, but what's really important here is to look at how it was able to update this information. And that's what I really like, you know, it's very, very interesting. It was able to create, if you will, a web page format that can be sent by email with a single click, as you're seeing, and it's very conversion oriented. That means when you look at this page, you can see the urgency to sell, the offer is clear, it's simple, and for me, I can still further improve the information. For example, here I can tell it, for instance, I can give it information here. I can say add this module or this block, that would be better. So then it can really work on that particular aspect. And there you go. So I launch it here and then it will try to make the updates and changes to the information. That's what's really interesting with this chat, that I can really go back and forth and ask it questions so it can improve things. You see that here, if I go back and shrink the page a bit like this, you notice there's a little button called edit content. That one gives me control so that I can personally intervene and modify the content myself. So I can either use the chat here or simply do it manually. So now it's actually finished updating. So if I scroll down here, I should find the block. There it is. This is the block that was just added. It actually followed my brand's color codes and just added this code here. Here I have the option to take suggestions. When you look here, it's suggesting that I add a section called include concrete examples of projects. Here it understood that this is about training. So it's suggesting that I add the badges and certifications that can be obtained. And that's actually very interesting. Of course, there's also the option to switch to mobile mode to check if it's responsive or not. And obviously, I can actually ask it to adjust the design if there are any issues. And what interests me is this, modifying the content. So we're going to switch from the automatic part where the chat modifies the content to modifying it ourselves. So when I click here, you'll see that I can actually click on any part. For example, here at an exceptional price with, and here it's very important to add this coupon. So here we're actually specifying the information. I can select this and put it back like this, make it italic. I can delete the block. So as you can see here, in any case, I have the ability to change the images, add blocks, and edit the text. So this capability, this strength, is what actually allows me to properly modify my system, and above all, to make sure that, for example, when I click here, as you can see, I can change the logo, I can adjust it, and I can also modify the dimensions. So this part here is very important. It allows me to make the final adjustments to the template, and once that's done, I can click on Save Changes so that the information, as you can see here, is saved. I can go back to return to the chat at any time if I want to add more information. So then, what have we done so far? We have created the template. What's left to do? It's to actually launch the campaign and schedule this launch and the email campaign. And there you go. Now we have created the template. By the way, when I come here, I'll find the template that has been properly created. Of course, I can edit it if I want to. I can create another one, but what interests me right now is that I want to actually launch the campaign. So you'll see here when I go to the campaign, I find that the campaign is ready. I can click on Review. So here for the review, I click on next, and of course I select this template. So this is the template I want, and I can click on send the test email. So the test email will send an email to me. So here I can enter my own email address to make sure actually that in terms of design and information, there are no errors and that the email is sent correctly. So this is a very important part, and I can change the template here if I want to. So that's possible. Then if everything is fine, if I like the template, I'll tell it, use this template. Here in the database of my emails, you'll see that I can click to select whether I want to send this to everyone, or I can make a selection, of just a few people if I really want to do this in a segmented way. So I select everyone, then I click continue. Now it's ready to send. So here it gives me a few notes. It tells me it's very effective to send it between 9 o'clock and noon. Of course, I tend to prefer this because generally when you send out the campaign in the evening, it's true that some people will check it, but usually even if people are going to take action and buy with their credit card, they won't do it in the evening. So it's better to send it in the morning, and generally in the morning between 9 and noon, people are settled in either at the office or at home. They've had their coffee, and as a result, you increase your chances that people will buy your product. So here I can just save it as a draft and send it another time, or simply click here to finish. So here you'll see that I click on send now, and you'll see that the system will do what's necessary to send the campaign, as you can see here. The campaign has just been sent. I click on close, and of course I can track my campaign. As you can see here, no one has opened it yet. There are no clicks. So we'll actually check if we've received the emails or not. Here you have the statistics that will follow the sending of the campaign. So I can simply test here by going into the test email address I used. And there it is, the email is right here, displayed directly in the inbox, not in the spam folder. That's one of the advantages of the Hosting Rich tool. Thanks to this tool, I can of course track everything related to opens, clicks, and so on. This simply allows me to see all the information, data, and statistics related to my email campaign. And there you have it. We've now tested Hosting Reach. Honestly, I think the real advantage is that it's extremely easy to use, especially for beginners, thanks to the AI. It can also create a very appealing design for you. Highly recommended for simple use, because there are no segmentations and you don't actually have campaign sending settings, like scheduling, for example, scheduling a send for the day after tomorrow, or even doing automation. It remains a tool that's always easy to use. But really, in terms of pricing, it's very, very attractive. And especially with the AI option, I think for small businesses or freelancers, it's a tool that can actually replace other tools that are very expensive on the market.